When I cruise, I usually try and keep my onboard spend as close to zero as possible, but I have tried lots of expensive things on cruises, all of which I think I haven't paid for since I tried them, at least not paid full price. I may use promotions or loyalty discounts, or I might have friends that have access to the expensive things, but I personally wouldn't pay for these things again. I've been doing this since I was 13. I was 13 the first time I followed a friend into the restricted access area of a ship, but more about that later. I'm very much of the mindset that you should try everything once, but every time I try something new and expensive, I do have the little worry there that I may like it too much. Usually though, trying these expensive things just confirms to me that you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a good cruise. When I cruise, you'll almost always find me in an inside cabin, right at the bottom of the ship, right at one end, right at the other. I would never consider booking a suite or a spa class cabin, but on my last cruise, I had a friend who had booked a suite, so I had the opportunity to have a look around. I've known my friend Aid for many years, and I've often seen his photos of him enjoying his suite, enjoying the big balcony with his friends, and I have wondered what the suite life would be like. For me personally, if I have a midship cabin or maybe an ocean view, that is the height of luxury. Generally speaking, the less money you spend on your cabin, the less time you're going to spend there. I will not really spend any time in my inside cabin apart from sleeping and apart from showering. I also don't normally pick the location so that I can save a bit more money. Sometimes that means a long walk to the buffet, but I don't always think that that's necessarily a bad thing. My friend Aid sent me a message when we were on this cruise and said that I could come and have a look around his suite. I was on this cruise with my mum, and my mum's never been in a cruise ship suite before, so she was very, very excited to come along and have a look around. Aid had the Celebrity Suite, which comes in at almost 400 square foot with another 100 square foot of balcony. The inside cabins on Celebrity Silhouette are just under 200, so it's basically double the size of a standard cabin. There are lots of suites on board this ship and on board other ships that are much bigger than this one, but Aid said that this was his favourite cabin, and I trust him, he knows what he's talking about. As soon as I went into the suite, I could see why Aid really liked it. Actually, it was before I even went in the suite that I could see why he liked it, because as soon as I arrived at his door, there was a doorbell. There was a doorbell on his cabin. I've never had a doorbell on an inside cabin before, I guess because you're not ever more than a few meters away from the door, but that is cool. A cabin with a doorbell. I could definitely get used to having a cabin like this. It had a huge living area, a separate bedroom, and a bathroom, which had a bath. To have a bath on a cruise ship, that is something special. I have had a bath on a cruise ship once, and it was absolutely amazing. I love baths, definitely team bath over team shower. Let me know which one you're on. But to sit in a bath on a cruise ship, it was really strange, but absolutely amazing. That is something, if I could just pay extra for the bath, I would do that. Having a look at this cruise here, it starts at $600, but a suite starts at $2,000 plus. The way I see it is that I could do a cruise 3 times the length in the cheaper cabin, so that is where my priorities lie. There are extra perks to having a suite. You get access to the retreat deck and various other things on different cruise lines, but for me, my priorities lie with the price, and it's always going to be the cheaper cabin. I totally see why you would book a suite though if you have limited time off work or you have a bigger budget than mine. For me though, a suite is an easy pass. Something that isn't an easy pass though is specialty dining. Specialty restaurants are restaurants on cruise ships that cost extra. You either pay just a flat fee to eat in the restaurant, or sometimes you will pay per item the same way you would on land. Specialty restaurants tend to be a bit more specialised, so you will find maybe a steak restaurant, maybe a seafood restaurant. Cruise lines really hype up the food that they serve in their specialty restaurants, and when you see a promotional video for a cruise line, chances are the food in that video is going to be from the specialty restaurants. On every mainstream cruise line, you will have at least a main dining room and a buffet that's included in your cruise fare. If you don't want to spend a single penny, a single cent, a single anything extra on food, you don't have to do that. And some cruise lines will have a lot more included options. I took a Marella cruise recently and they had 5 included restaurants, so some have quite a lot. I've tried specialty restaurants on almost every cruise line that I've ever cruised with, and I have had some amazing meals. On my last cruise, I had a specialty meal in a restaurant called Indochine. Indochine is a new restaurant for MSC and it is Indonesian cuisine. I was totally not prepared for this restaurant. I have a loyalty status with MSC because they match statuses from other cruise lines, and that meant that I got a free specialty meal. It got to the second night of the cruise and I realised they hadn't used my free specialty meal yet. I wasn't going to leave that cruise until I had my specialty meal, so I did book for the last lunchtime in this restaurant Indochine. I was not ready for how huge the portions were. Every single course felt like it could have been a main meal. The food was fantastic, and I actually left without having dessert. I left without having dessert because I was so unbelievably full. Would I have paid the full price for that restaurant? Probably not. But when it was free because it was a loyalty perk, of course I was gonna have it. I find it frustrating that a lot of people assume that you have to spend money on food on a cruise. Of course the cruise lines want you to do that. People want to sell you things, but you do not have to spend anything extra, and I often don't. If I don't have a promotion, a loyalty status, or some way to get a free meal, I'm just going to eat the food that I've already paid for. My logic here is that I've already paid for all of this free food on the cruise, and there's no way in the cruise that I'm going to manage to work my way through everything on every menu that is included, so I don't normally feel the need to pay extra for a specialty meal. Of course, if you're there and it's your birthday and you're a big seafood person and you want to go to a seafood restaurant, fantastic. There definitely are ways to get specialty meals cheaper. A lot of cruise lines will have discounts on the first day, but don't go on a cruise assuming that you have to spend money on food, because you definitely don't. Apparently you guys like the way that I pronounce the word assume. I've had so many assume comments. That's just how we say it here in the UK. I assume that's what you're talking about. If you are taking a cruise soon, be aware that some cruise lines can be quite hard on the upsell. Of course, they want to get you into their specialty restaurants, but don't let them convince you that you have to. You don't have to. I don't, and it's totally fine to eat the food that you've already paid for. I don't think I've ever told anyone this before, but when I was 13, I snuck into the Haven on board a Norwegian Cruise Line ship. For those of you who aren't familiar with Norwegian Cruise Line, the Haven is basically a premium area that they have on their ships, and guests will pay extra to have their cabin in that area so that they get access to the private pool deck, to the private restaurant, they get butlers and concierges, and it's basically a ship within a ship, and I snuck into it when I was 13. I didn't go totally alone. I did have a friend who was cruising in the Haven, and I was fascinated by those "you cannot pass here" restricted access doors. Nothing has changed. I took a cruise on Celebrity Silhouette a couple of weeks ago, and Celebrity gave me a pass to get through the restricted access doors, and trust me, it's just as exciting as it was when I was 13. My friend offered to take me and my cousin on a tour of the Haven, and I'm sure looking back in hindsight it was totally fine. No one is going to mind a child showing their child friend around the Haven, but I felt like I was breaking the law. I honestly felt like an undercover spy, like I was about to be arrested at any time. It was absolutely terrifying. I don't remember anybody being in there or anybody paying attention to us. We didn't make a nuisance. I didn't spend very long in there, but what I do remember is the jars of sweets that they had on the bar. We basically grabbed a handful of sweets and left out of the Haven, and then spent the rest of the cruise hoping that we wouldn't get in trouble. Your Britishism of the week is sweets. A sweet doesn't mean something sweet like a cake. Sweets here in the UK are basically candy. Any kind of, a jelly bean, a fizzy worm, anything I think you guys in the US would call candy, we would call sweets. On my recent MSC cruise, MSC gave me the pass so that I could get into the yacht club and have a look around. We had a meal in there, which was really, really nice. I had booked myself the cheapest inside cabin, so I did feel a bit sneaky wandering around the yacht club, but it was very cool for me to have a look beyond those restricted doors. Still fun. These restricted areas are definitely out of my budget, and on this MSC cruise the capacity was reduced quite a lot anyway, so it already felt like we had quite a luxurious experience on the ship. There was a lot of space per person, but if you were taking a busy cruise, maybe it was in the school holidays, it would be so nice to come back to the yacht club and know that you have a guaranteed seat by the pool, you have a guaranteed seat in the restaurant, you're not going to have to wait, and you're not going to have to kind of fight for your space. I think that's really the thing with the yacht club, at least. I did have a couple of drinks in the yacht club lounge, which was really nice. MSC at the time were including a drinks package in the promotion, and Celebrity were on the last cruise that I took too. The next thing that I have experienced but don't normally pay for is the really expensive drinks packages. I've had the highest, best drinks packages on many cruise lines when they've been included in promotions, but I don't think I've ever managed to drink back the cost of the high-end expensive drinks packages. When I cruise, I will usually purchase a soda package. A soda package is around $10 per day, and a soda is normally around $3. So as long as I have 3 sodas per day, which I definitely do, it's quite easy to get my money back. Then if I want to try a particular cocktail, I will just pay for that on top. I took a cruise a few years ago on board the MSC Meraviglia, and we had a drinks package included as part of the cruise fare. We were cruising over Christmas, so it was so nice to be able to just have drinks and not worry about it. But what happened, I think, is that I ended up drinking more than I would have if I didn't have the drinks package. I'm somebody who gets travel sick, and on this cruise I was more seasick than I've ever been on any other cruise. I definitely was seasick. We did encounter a storm, we did have to cancel ports, but I don't think the fact that I had been in the pub drinking these beer cocktails really helped with the seasickness. A lot of cruises at the moment do include drinks, but do not assume that you need to have a drinks package. When I see promotional leaflets and things from cruise lines, it often makes it sound like your options are this drinks package or this drinks package. That is not the case. You do not have to buy a drinks package on any cruise. You can just buy your drinks in the same way you would if you went to a bar or a lounge on land. You just pay for the drink. It's very easy. On all cruise lines, apart from Costa Cruises, you will have water included with your meals, and you will have tea and juices at breakfast. If you want to just stick to that and you don't want to spend any extra money on drink, that is totally fine. You can do that. You don't have to spend anything extra on drink. That's kind of more budget even than me, and I pride myself on being a budget cruiser. But if you can do that, good on you. I personally need my Pepsi Max fix or my Coke Zero or something on a cruise. If you don't decide to buy a drinks package, you can often still find free drinks or discounted drinks around the ship. If you go to the welcome drinks, there will normally be free drinks there. Any kind of meetup, there'll often be free drinks. And a lot of cruise lines will let you bring on your own alcohol. They do have their own rules, but being able to bring your own bottle of wine, your own bottle of spirits to enjoy on the balcony before dinner can be a really good way to save money. Cruising on a budget isn't about missing out on things, it's about getting those same things but for a cheaper price. Watch this video next to learn how to cut the cost of your cabin without downgrading your cabin category. You can still have that balcony, you can still have your ocean view, but you can have it cheaper. Watch this video to learn how.